Hello everyone, welcome to Prelims Warm-Up. This initiative has been brought to you by Aptitude Academy for Civil Services, and my name is Shayad Datta. I'm the faculty for Geography and Environment at Aptitude Academy for Civil Services. So in this initiative, every day we are going through 5 questions which have been asked in the previous year UPSC Prelims examination. So let us start with the first question for today. The first question, it was asked in UPSC Prelims 2018. The question is, which one of the following links all the ATMs in India? Which one of the following links all the ATMs in India? A. Indian Banks Association. B. National Securities Depository Limited, NSDL, National Securities Depository Limited. C. National Payments Corporation of India, NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India. And D. Reserve Bank of India, RBI. So which one of the following links all the ATMs in India? Indian Banks Association, B. National Securities Depository Limited, C. National Payments Corporation of India, and D. Reserve Bank of India. So the answer is C, that is NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India. Why? Because the National Financial Switch, or NFS, ATM network having 37 members, and it connects about 50,000 ATMs. It was taken over by NPCI from the Institute for Development and Research in Banking Technology on December 14, 2009. Once again, the National Financial Switch NFS ATM network having 37 members and connecting over 50,000 ATMs. It was taken over by NPCI, that is National Payments Corporation of India, from the Institute for Development and Research in Banking Technology, RBT, on December 14, 2009. Over the span of few years, this NFS ATM network, it has grown many folds, and it is now the leading multilateral ATM network in the country. On 31st August 2017, there were around 941 members. That includes 101 direct, 776 sub-members, 56 RRBs, that is regional rural banks, and 8 WLAOs using NFS network connected to more than 2.37 lakh ATMs. Now, the figures are not important. What you should remember is this. Okay, this NFS, or the National Financial Switch, which links all the ATMs, it was taken over by NPCI from the Institute for Development and Research in Banking Technology. This happened in the year 2009. So by now there are more than 2.37 lakhs ATM which are connected with each other. The figures are not important. I just put them so that just for your information purpose, but it is not so important so far as UPSC Prelims is concerned. Also, we get to see that NFS, or the National Financial Switch, has established a strong and sustainable operational model with in-house capabilities, and today it can be compared at par with other major and well-established switch networks. The operational functions and services are at par with most of the global ATM networks. Okay, so just remember National Financial Switch, and it has been taken over by NPCI. So if the question is like this, okay, which one of the following links all the ATMs in India, then it should be NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India. Now, this is the first question. Moving on to the second question for today. The second question was also asked in the UPSC Prelims 2018 exam. And this question is again from economics. Here we get to see that there are two statements which have been given. We have to find out the correct one. First statement is capital adequacy ratio, CAR. Capital adequacy ratio is the amount that banks have to maintain in the form of their own funds to offset any loss that banks incur if the account holders fail to repay dues. Once again, capital adequacy ratio is the amount that banks have to maintain in the form of their own funds to offset any loss that banks incur if the account holders fail to repay dues. And number two is CAR, or the capital adequacy ratio, is decided by each individual bank. And you have to select which out of this is correct. And the options given are A, 1 only, B, 2 only, C, both 1 and 2, and D, neither 1 nor 2. So let us go to the explanation part. Now, what is the CAR, capital adequacy ratio, or CAR? It is the ratio of a bank's capital in relation to its risk-weighted assets and the current liabilities. Okay, capital adequacy ratio is the ratio of what? It is the ratio of a bank's capital. Okay, so how much capital is there for with the bank? The bank's capital in relation to its risk-weighted assets and current liabilities. When we say risk-weighted assets, it is referring to the loans which have been given out to the various sectors. Now, all the sectors to which the loans have been given out, they do not carry equal amount of risk. So the risk varies from sector to sector, and as a result of which each loan it has to be multiplied with the risk associated, and the product will be what we call as the risk weighted assets. So CAR, capital adequacy ratio, it is the ratio of a bank's capital in relation to its risk weighted assets and the current liabilities. It is decided by central banks, okay, not by individual banks. It is decided by central banks and the bank regulators to prevent commercial banks from taking excess leverage and becoming insolvent in the process. So it is the tendency of any bank to give out as much loan as possible, because you might be aware that loans are supposed to be the asset for a bank. So the more amount of loans that a bank is able to give out, more will be the asset formation for the bank. But then again, there will be a situation, there is always a possibility of a situation where a lot of the depositors might come to the bank and ask for their deposits, which is sometimes also called as a bank run, when you have maximum amount of bank and withdrawing money at the same time. During such period, what will happen? The bank might not be having sufficient money with it to repay these depositors, and that will lead to insolvency. So the thing is, in order to ensure that banks, they do not start lending out as much as possible, there should be a ratio which should be maintained, and this ratio, it is decided by the central bank or by the regulator, bank regulator. So it is not, this capital adequacy ratio, it is not decided by the individual banks, rather by the central bank regulator. In our case, it is by the RBI. So A is the right answer. That is, the first statement is correct, the second statement is incorrect. Okay. A, one only is the right answer. Moving on to the third question, which was again asked in UPSC Prelims 2018. The identity, this is from current affairs, the identity platform Aadhaar provides open application programming interfaces. What does it imply? The identity platform Aadhaar, okay, it provides open application programming interfaces, application programming interface or APIs. What does that imply? So asked in UPSC Prelims 2018, number one, it can be integrated into any electronic device. And number two, the second statement is online authentication using iris is possible. So the identity platform Aadhaar provides open application programming interface. What does that imply? Number one, it can be integrated into any electronic device, and number two, online authentication using iris is possible. So what does this imply? So A1 only, B2 only, C both 1 and 2, and D neither one nor two. So let us see the answer for question number 3. Answer is C, that is both 1 and 2. We go to C. It means both 1 and 2, that is the open application programming interface. Okay, that implies that it can be integrated into any electronic device. Also, online authentication using iris becomes possible. Let us see over here. Aadhaar authentication is the process wherein Aadhaar numbers along with other attributes including biometrics are submitted online to the central identities data repository. I repeat once again, Aadhaar authentication, it is the process wherein Aadhaar number along with other attributes including biometrics, they are submitted online to the central identities data repository for its verification, and such repository verifies the correctness or the incorrectness, you can say, the lack thereof, on the basis of the information available with it. An authentication request is entertained by the UIDAI, that is the authority which is looking after Aadhaar. An authentication request is entertained by the UIDAI only upon a request sent by a requesting entity electronically in accordance with its regulations. The modes of authentication include what kind of authentication? Demographic authentication, one-time PIN-based authentication, biometric-based authentication, multi-factor authentication, and to support strong end-to-end security and to avoid request tampering and man-in-the-middle attacks, it is essential that encryption of data happens at the time of capture on the captured device. Okay. Authentication related APIs are enabled only for valid ASA and only for their registered static IP address coming through a secure private network. So this is the entire thing in detail, but again, so much of detail is not necessary so far as UPSC prelims is concerned. For your understanding purpose, it is more than sufficient to know that when other authentication takes place, it happens with the help of the Aadhaar number along with the other attributes, including biometrics, which are sent to a central repository. This central identity repository that will match the data which has come in along with the data which is there in the database, and it will decide whether the data gets verified, whether the entry is verified or not. So that will be sent. But at the same time, when the data is being sent, from some kind of a API, so in that case, it is necessary that the data should be encrypted. Otherwise, it is possible for some kind of hacking or some kind of phishing activities to take place in the middle, which might result in the loss of identity, or identity theft can also take place. Okay, so that is why it is necessary to have strong end-to-end security. That is more essential. So this is with regards to Aadhaar. So it can be integrated into any electronic device, that is correct, and at the same time online authentication using iris, that is also possible. And as you can see, there are different ways in which authentication takes place. Okay. Now moving on to the fourth question, and this question is also from current affairs, and this was a lot in the news in those years. So this question is from 2018 prelims. The question is, very recently, in which of the following countries have lakhs of people either suffered from severe famine or acute malnutrition, or they have died due to starvation caused by war and ethnic conflicts? I repeat once again, very recently, in which of the following countries have lakhs of people either suffered from severe famine or acute malnutrition, or have died due to starvation caused by war or ethnic conflicts? E. Angola and Zambia. B. Morocco and Tunisia. C. Venezuela and Colombia. And D. Yemen and South Sudan. So the answer is, during those years we get to see Yemen and South Sudan. These two countries, they were a lot in the news because we get to see many people had suffered in those countries, and they had suffered from famine, they had suffered from acute malnutrition. Also, we get to see a lot of people had died because of starvation, and this starvation was mainly caused by war and ethnic conflicts. So the answer is Yemen and South Sudan. So Yemen is now on the brink of the world's largest famine. It is on the brink of the world's largest famine according to the United Nations. And already we get to see around 17 million people are dependent on external aid for food and medicine, while the country is fighting a massive cholera outbreak. Okay. So what is the situation? As you can understand, that the situation is very dire in Yemen. It is now on the brink of the world's largest famine, and already 17 million people are dependent on external aid for food and medicine. Plus, we also get to see that the country is fighting a massive cholera outbreak, the breakdown of government services, lack of drinking water, crumbling health sector, and also we get to see the miseries of civil war and aerial bombardment. All of these are fast turning Yemen into a failed state, and it becomes a breeding ground for extremist groups such as Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. So when the government becomes very weak, and when people lose their faith on the government, then there is always a chance of such kind of secessionist groups or such kind of insurgent groups like Al Qaeda taking root in such countries, and that is exactly what has happened in case of Yemen as well. Also, we get to see that 1 year after South Sudan briefly declared a famine, more than half of the people in the country's youngest nation face extreme hunger plus civil war as well. Also, a new report by the United Nations and South Sudan's government say that more than 6 million people are at threat without aid, up about 40% from a year ago. So as you can understand, even in South Sudan also, the situation is very bad. there is a huge amount of civil war going on, and not just civil war, but also we get to see a lot of people are facing starvation, hunger, and all of these are creating a lot of misery for the people of South Sudan. And a new report by the United Nations as well as by the Sudanese government, South Sudan government, it says that 6 million people are at threat without any kind of aid, and that is up by about 40% from what was the situation a year back. So both Yemen as well as South Sudan are suffering quite a lot. Now coming to the last question that we have, and this question is also from 2018 prelims. The question is regarding Woods Dispatch, and the Woods Dispatch, which of the following statements are correct? Number one, grants in aid system was introduced. So as a part of Woods Dispatch, grant in aid system was introduced. Number two, establishment of universities was recommended. Number three, English as a medium of education, English as a medium of instruction at all levels of education was recommended. So the question is with regards to dispatch, and which of the following statements are true? Number one, grant introduced. Number two, establishment of universities was recommended. And number three, English as a medium of instruction at all levels of education was recommended. So you have to correct, you have to select the right answer. A, 1 and 2 only, B, 2 and 3 only, C, 1 and 3 only, and D, 1, 2 and 3. So let us have a look. Woods Dispatch went back in 1854. So in 1854, Charles Wood prepared a dispatch on an educational system for India. So in that Woods Dispatch, with regards to the educational system of India, and it is considered as a case of English education in India. So this document, Dispatch, was the first comprehensive plan for the spread of education. The Woods Dispatch was the first comprehensive plan for the spread of education in case of India. Okay, it asked the government of India to assume responsibility for education of the masses, thus repudiating the downward filtration theory, at least on paper. So before this, before the Woods Dispatch, the idea was this: not everybody in India needs to be educated, or let's say at least so far as the English education, scientific education is concerned, you don't have to educate everyone. Educate a particular section, the creamy section of the society, and automatically you will get to see that there will be a downward filtration. Downward filtration or downward trickle means when you educate a certain part of the society, usually the creamy layer of the society, eventually you will get to see that that kind of education, that kind of a culture will slowly trickle down to the lowermost, you can say the lowermost layer in the society as well. So in this Woods Dispatch, we get to see that this trickle down theory, or what we call as the downward filtration theory, so that is something which was it was said that this is not the right approach. Ideally, the government of India, it has to take a responsibility, it has to assume responsibility for the education of the masses. So the entire mass needs to be educated, not just a particular section of the society. Number two, it's systematized the hierarchy from vernacular primary schools in villages at the bottom. It will be followed by Anglo vernacular high schools and an affiliated college at the district level, and an affiliating in the universities in the presidency towns of Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. So please see this very, very carefully. So Woods Dispatch, what did it do? Number one, you can understand that it recommended or it asked the government to take responsibility for the for the education of the masses, and not only depend upon the trickle down theory or the downward filtration theory. This is number one. Second very important factor or very important point that we got to know is this: it systematized the hierarchy from, so there was a hierarchy which was decided. Okay, what kind of hierarchy? See, at the primary level, in case of villages, you will have primary schools, and the primary schools, the medium of instruction will be in the vernacular tongue. So whatever is the local language, whatever is the vernacular language which is used, that will be followed in case of the primary schools, which will be in the villages, right? So this is the bottommost, you can say the bottommost part in the hierarchy. Next, you have the Anglo vernacular high schools. Anglo vernacular high schools, and not just Anglo vernacular high schools, but also you have colleges at the district level. So in the village you have primary schools where vernacular, where the medium of instruction will be vernacular tongue or vernacular language. On the other hand, if you go to the district level, that is one level up, there you will get to see high schools will be there. But in case of high schools, it will not just be vernacular, but it will be a combination of Anglo as well, English and vernacular. Both of these will be followed. Plus, you will also have some colleges also at the district level. Now, if you go to the presidency towns, that is the the cities which were there basically. So during the British times, there were three very important cities which were called as presidency towns, and you had Calcutta, you had Bombay, and Madras. So over here, you will have the universities present, which are the highest level of education. So these universities will, so you'll have the colleges affiliated to these universities. So at the topmost, that is, you have the presidency towns, Calcutta, Bombay, Madras, and over there you have the universities. Below the universities, you will have some colleges which are affiliated to those universities, and not just that, but also you'll have high schools. In these universities and high schools, you will have Anglo vernacular medium of instruction, and these these colleges and high schools, they will be present at the district level. Below those, you will have the primary schools which are present at the village level, and these primary schools, they will follow the vernacular tongue for imparting education. So, if you look at statement number 3, that is English as a medium of instruction at all levels of education was recommended, that is incorrect. That is not correct. Plus, what are the other importances of this particular Woods dispatch? It recommended English as the medium of instruction for higher studies and vernaculars at school level. Just remember this. If school level, it is vernacular. For higher education, it will be English. That is what was recommended, not English at all levels, but English only for the higher levels of education. Plus, it also laid stress on female and vocational education and on teachers training. These are very, very important points regarding the Woods dispatch. It laid stress on female education. That is one thing. Plus also on vocational training as well. Plus teachers also need to be trained. Vocational training, teachers training, as well as female education. It laid down that the education imparted in government institutions, it should be secular. It should be secular education. So statement 1, grants in aid, it was introduced. Yes, grants in aid was also introduced. If you look at statement number 6, that is the sixth importance, there you get to see the mention of grants in aid. It recommended a system of grants in aid to encourage private enterprise. Okay, let us see statement number. So statement number 1 is correct. Statement number 3 is incorrect. Statement number 2 is saying establishment of industry universities was recommended. So already we have seen that universities were found in the presidency towns of Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. So statement 2 is correct because the Woods dispatch, it recommended the establishment of universities in the 3 presidency towns of Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. The universities were to be modeled after the London University, and these were to have a senate comprising of a chancellor, a vice chancellor, and fellows who were nominated by the government. The universities would confer degrees to the successful candidates after passing the examination of science or arts stream conducted by the Senate. The universities were to organize departments not only of English but also of Arabic, Sanskrit, and Persian, as well as law, as well as civil engineering. So these were the various streams of education which one could study at these universities, and these universities were present at the presidency towns of Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. What is to be remembered over here is number 1. Okay, these universities, it were on the lines of the London University, and they all had a senate consisting of chancellor, a vice chancellor, as well as fellows, and they were nominated by the government. These universities, they would grant degrees after the successful candidates they passed out after the examination. And what were the various streams? For example, science, you had arts, and English, Arabic, Sanskrit, Persian, law, as well as civil engineering. All these different streams of education were taught at these universities. So the Woods dispatch is very, very, very important so far as your modern history syllabus is concerned. So right answer is A, 1 and 2 only. Okay, that is the right answer. So with this, we complete all the 5 questions for today. I hope you have liked this session. Please let us know in the comment section. Also, please like and share this video with your friends who are also preparing for UPSC. Also, please subscribe to Aptitude Academy for Civil Services YouTube channel for more such informative videos. We'll be back again with a new set of 5 questions. Till then, stay safe and study hard. Thank you so much.